marks 11 years since the tragic murders of protesting mine workers in Marikana. 6 ex-police officials charged with various crimes relating to the murders appeared in court last month. Now, this trial is ongoing as the National Prosecuting Authority continues to build its case 11 years later, with many questions still unanswered. That's despite an extensive panel of experts reporting on the events and recommending policing reforms in the country. No successful prosecutions have been made. Let's get a sense of how much this moment has affected the confidence of police in the country with Ipid national spokesperson Robbie Raburabu. Of course, Andries Nkome, the lawyer who represented some of the widows, families and victims of on the fateful day, will also be joining us in just a moment. But for now, let's welcome you, Ndate Robbie, to studio. Thank you so much for your time. This is obviously a long-standing matter, 11 years. You're old, to be exact. It's almost like a cloud hanging over your department because, accountability is one thing, and of course the impact on the families that were affected is also another. You've been investigating the 6 SAPS members who have been arrested and they're now out on bail. Insofar as the case is concerned and the technicalities that come with it, where are we standing?
I think we need to remember that in between, from that time up until now, there's also been the commission of inquiry into the Marikana massacre. And during that period, the investigations were stopped, and some of our investigators were seconded to the commission to assist in the investigations there. Where we are now, we also have already a matter that has been the very same people that we are talking about here as the suspects have been acquitted in a matter where we've charged them with defeating the end of justice and not complying with the provisions of Section 28, subsection 1 of Ipid Act. They failed to report in terms of Section 29 of Ipid Act. One of the body that was found after the scene was processed. Now that matter, these guys were given Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act in terms of them not prosecuted in this case. Now we also have this matter that is going to court now. Which is part of the 13th, where some people died, including police officers. Yeah. But we also have the matter that is being investigated by the police, where minors are also suspect, our own witnesses in this matter. So that matter is still on at this stage. So we also have the matter of the 16th that is still lying with the National Prosecuting Authority, still to be decided on. And this particular matter has exchanged hands from the prosecutors at National Office in Gauteng that were dealing with the matter originally. They've just handed over the matter to the prosecutors in the Northwest Province. To them, it's a new matter. They still have to familiarize themselves with the matter. So they are still going to come out and tell us what is it that we need to do with that matter.
Perhaps let me bring into the conversation Andries Nkome, the lawyer who represented some of the widows, families, victims on the fateful day, also joining us. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, just listening into some of the developments 11 years on this case, I mean, it doesn't seem to have an end in sight as yet. How are the families coping as we reflect on a matter that is almost over a decade old?
Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. This matter is a very painful matter, and it has been 11 years going. Between then, 11 years back and now, we really have not seen any justice being done insofar as bringing to criminal liability those that were seen live on TV by the world to have been shooting at people with live ammunition. So it's going through slowly, and our people essentially had lost hope in government seeking to assist in this. All that they are now saying is that the courts are going to be their last forum of resort insofar as making sure that those that are criminally liable are supposed to be brought to book.
And perhaps just give us more insight on the family's day-to-day, how they're just coping with the very little clarity on what the future holds, really, when it comes to accountability and justice prevailing.
You know, you'll be really motivated by how the families would have found solace among themselves. They find time to speak and reflect on what has really transpired, and they are also all the time communicating about what they seek to see and how best are they thinking that we as lawyers can advise and make sure that they get justice at the end. So we are glad that over that time, the families have been able to stick together. We are glad that the families have been able to say, we are going to stick with you and make sure that we carry out all the instructions that you give us advice, and we make sure that we bring justice. So definitely, over time, justice will come through. Only that the hope was that it should have come through many years back.
Yeah. With the wheels of justice moving very slowly, I mean, you just listen to the sort of impact that this has had on the lives that have been affected here. When it comes to justice and accountability and this tragic moment that essentially really redefined people's lives and shook the country, how do you think this moment has then affected the confidence in the policing system in South Africa?
I think it did. It dent the confidence of the policing system in South Africa. More so because also with regard to the recommendations that Ipid made against certain police officers in this regard, nothing happened. You know, and you see them. Most of these guys that we are talking about that are now appearing in court, they've retired. Some of them have resigned, and you see that to them it's like they are home and nothing is happening to them, and of course people would actually lose faith in the system itself, you know. But it's not like nothing is happening. It's just that where we're sitting, we are looking at it as if nothing is happening, but there's a lot of work that is happening out there. So because this was not an easy case to deal with, you know, it was a very big case that a lot of people had to be involved, and a lot of things went wrong even in the scene itself. So this was just that kind of a case where you had to do everything that you had to do to make sure that these cases actually getting to the court. But at least the matter went to court, and we are hopeful that at the end justice will prevail.
Andries, apparently you're shaking your head and perhaps speaking to some of your reaction to what that Robbie is saying here in studio. The wheels of justice moving slowly, the matters in court, but of course the families are hoping for that moment where prosecution takes place.
The law is very clear. It says justice delayed is justice denied. I do not know as to what complexities are we really talking about, because it was known at the time that when firearms were being issued to particular policemen, particular number of bullets were issued to particular number of policemen, they were supposed to be the responsibility of government to make sure that it avails all that information, and those that fired bullets and killed people are supposed to be prosecuted. So it's supposed to be as easy as that. I do not see as to what complexities are we talking about. What we said from the beginning is that the recommendations of Falam were very clear, and we don't seem to see government trying to move in that direction at all. What also transpired is also that we were hoping for an apology from the president, and I believe that once that stance has been taken, we'll be able to have parties sit around the table to see how best we make sure that we bring justice quicker to the people of Marikana. It is only as a result of people saying, I'm going to choose a hardline stance, and therefore I'm not going to be apologizing that we have the stance that we have.
Yeah. And Dr. Robbie, just bringing the conversation back to studio in closing, I mean, you know, listening, perhaps just reacting to what Andries is saying, and also how far have we come? I mean, 11 years later, what have we seen and learnt from the Marikana massacre in terms of the policing system and the sort of training that's needed, the reform? COVID-19 showed us how brutal the policing system can be to people on the ground, insofar as being guarded, and cases that came from the sort of treatment that was received by community members who supposedly broke the laws of COVID-19. How far do you think we've come, and where to from here?
And personally, from Ipid's point of view, is that for the police, training is very crucial. And the issue of the rank should not actually come before everything else. Because what Marikana taught us was that the people that knew how to do the job, that would have done the job properly, were not allowed to do the job at the time when Marikana happened. So the people that had the bigger ranks took over, and people were working from behind the scenes. And those that have not done the job before, they were allowed to take over, which is why we are where we are today. You know, so I think going forward, people need to learn that there's training, and that training is for people to actually learn something out of that training. It does not necessarily mean just because you hold you are at a higher level, then you should not be trained. Yeah. So if everyone else, they allowed the people that POP that were there to do the job, we wouldn't be talking what we are talking today. Thank you very much. Perhaps we're going to have to leave it there for now. But thanking Ipid National spokesperson Robbie Raburabu, as well as Andries Nkome, the lawyer who represented some of the widows, families and victims. Thank you for your time.